Coming up on Network Africa, the World Health Organization urges delivery of vaccines pledged to Africa. Kenya and the UK are working on a COVID-19 travel plan to aid movement between both nations. Plus, Namibians protest as members of parliament to vote on a German genocide deal. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. The World Health Organization says the global commitment to provide COVID vaccines to Africa needs to translate to real delivery of the vaccines on the continent. This comes as the UN describes the situation as a moral indictment, with over 90% of Africans still unvaccinated. Dr. Richard Mihigo, who's the WHO Africa Regional Director, says Africa has done well to distribute the few vaccines it had so far received, despite some of them arriving with a short time to their expiry date. WHO official says the global COVAX vaccine scheme, which is intended to help poorer countries, had done well despite being unable to access enough vaccine supplies. The COVAX scheme has supplied about 37% of the 177 million vaccine doses supplied to Africa, with the rest acquired through bilateral deals and donations from a variety of sources. Dr. Mihigo urges countries to support the scheme by channeling their donations through COVAX. The Kenyan and British governments say they are working on a system to recognize COVID vaccine certificates issued in both countries that would facilitate travel between them. They made this known in a joint statement by the British High Commission and Kenya's Health Ministry. That statement was released on Tuesday. Now, this comes after the UK changed its controversial international travel traffic lights system to make it easier for fully vaccinated passengers to travel to England. But despite being removed from the UK's red list, Kenyans intending to travel there will still have to take a test 3 days before traveling, quarantine for 10 days on arrival, as well as pay for COVID tests while in isolation. Under the UK's new rules, effective from the 4th of October, fully vaccinated people from countries that are not on the red list will be exempt from the compulsory quarantine. Health experts in Kenya say this recent announcement from the UK might have an impact in the uptake of COVID-19 vaccines in the country. Well, joining us now for more details on this story is Kenyan journalist Cyrus Umabati. Thank you for speaking to us on the program. Well, help us understand the details of this joint statement released and that is expected to, facilitate travel between Kenya and the UK.
Good evening. The statement that the Kenyan Minister for Health and the UK Ambassador to Kenya issued yesterday in regard to the vaccine certificate that is needed for one to travel to the UK came at a time when there has been protests from Kenyans asking why they are being put in the list of those countries whose certificates are not recognized by the UK. Yet, some of the vaccines that are being used here in Kenya, especially AstraZeneca, were actually donated by the UK to Kenya. The UK government has donated almost 1 million vaccines that have been administered to Kenyans. So Kenyans were asking, why should the UK government lump them together among the African, South American, Asian countries whose certificates are not now recognized in the UK? So out of the protests which were being conducted maybe virtually, we saw the Minister for Health here in Kenya, Cabinet Secretary for Kenya Health, Mr. Mutahi Kagwe, meet with the UK Ambassador to Kenya Ms. Jane Marriott, then issued a joint statement stating that they are conducting, or rather they are making arrangements for recognition of such certificates from Kenya. We don't know what will be required in the process, but then we understand is the government, Kenyan government has protested over the same. So they're trying to make sure that if and when the Kenya certificates are allowed, some protocols are followed or some sites are kind of established to ensure that the certificates are watertight and they are genuine at large.
But the World Health Organization has been opposing, vaccine passports for international travel, and now it seems that what the UK and Kenya, it seems that that's what they are heading towards.
The funny part of it is that World Health Organization has actually is the one which sanctioned the AstraZeneca vaccine, Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson Johnson, which are being administered in Kenya so far. Even China's Sinopharm has also been is now being used in Kenya for vaccination. So all these drugs have been sanctioned by World Health Organization, but then the UK is insisting that they can't recognize the certificates are being issued, or rather being given out by the Kenyan government as a kind of a passport to enter UK. We don't know what they know, but then it's all about people. Many people think it's about profiling. They think that African certificates or South American cannot be recognized in the UK or Europe as such. But then it's a wait and see issue because it's a contentious issue. There have been protests from Kenyan doctors who are saying you can't be profiling or rather be subjecting Africans and Kenyans to such kind of a treatment. Yet such drugs which are being used there are the same ones which are used in their countries, especially in the UK. Then you want to say you can't recognize the certificates. It's a contentious issue which is actually under debate for now.
Well, you saying it's a contentious issue. What has now been the response to this proposed plan, from citizens? Do you think might this have an impact on the uptake of COVID-19 vaccines in the country, perhaps?
I mean, the whole controversy, the whole thing is affecting the uptake of this vaccine. Because now many Kenyans who have been there. There's been so much doubts about the entire program. So when the UK says they can't recognize the certificates which are being issued by the authorities here because they doubt their genuineness, it affects the whole program now. Some are saying should they travel abroad, should they travel somewhere like maybe Dubai or the UK itself and get the vaccines there, and what are the procedures of getting the injection there. It's affecting the whole inoculation program. Some doctors who have been the lead in pushing for this agenda or rather vaccination program, they are expressing their anger and protest online, saying the pronouncement by the UK government was wrong, was meant to discourage those who have not been vaccinated not to be vaccinated, which is actually a blow to the whole program because the number of Kenyans who have been vaccinated so far, almost 3.4 million, is far much less than what the target is, which is 10 million by December, which I suspect cannot be achieved with such kind of pronouncements which are being made. So it's a negative impact on the whole exercise. Had they waited maybe for more and more Kenyans to be vaccinated, it would have been better. But for now, people are struggling to convince, authorities are trying to convince most Kenyans to take this vaccine. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Thank you, Cyrus Umabati. Dr. John Nkagasong, the head of Africa Centers for Disease Control, is set to leave that position as U.S. President Joe Biden's administration plans to nominate him to lead the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief. The New York Times reports that the Cameroonian virologist has been picked by the U.S. government, and this will make him the first African to lead the agency. Launched in 2003 by former U.S. President George Bush, PEFA runs a $7 billion operation, funds and sets goals for AIDS care in many nations, most of them in Africa. Mr. Nkegasong's leadership of the African CDC had been widely praised, especially in marshalling African countries to pool their resources to buy vaccines. He has also led the continent's plan to launch vaccine hubs to help create and boost vaccine manufacturing in Africa. Zambia is addressing a shortage of ear, nose and throat specialists through a special pilot program to train health workers on primary ear and hearing care. 5 ENT experts and 1 audiologist are serving a population of 17 million. Well, after finishing the training in 2019, a particular nurse, Carol Sikende, has helped over 600 patients with screening and treatments.
Alice and Memory live in Chambishi, a rural area from which access to specialized health services is complicated. People have to travel to the closest city of Kapiri Mposhi to seek care and go to the hospital.
My child was not feeling well, so I wanted to go find medicine. That's when I was told that there is a nurse in Pula who is working on ears. Without hesitation, I went to the clinic.
In Zambia, only 5 ear, nose, and throat specialists and 1 audiologist serve a population of 17 million. To address this gap, the Ministry of Health of Zambia launched its first ever national ENT strategic plan as part of its 5-year health plan in response to the World Health Assembly resolution on prevention of deafness and hearing loss. Through a training plan based on WHO primary ear and hearing care manuals, 28 nurses, 43 clinical officers, and 133 community health workers from 92 facilities have been trained over the past 18 months. Nurse Carol Sinkende completed the training in 2019. Since then, she's helped over 600 patients with screenings and treatments. 3-year-old Memory is one of them.
Memory Senga has been my patient since December last year. And when they came with, when the child was brought with the issue of chronic suppurative otitis media. So the child had a perforation in the left ear. But ever since I've started seeing this child, I've noticed that the perforation has gone down due to the medication that we are giving, which is an indication that the child is actually getting better and getting well.
Nurses such as Carol provide outreach services to communities who may not know about specific health services, such as hearing assessments and ear examinations. Today, 1 in 5 people worldwide live with hearing loss. Nearly 80% of the people affected live in countries lacking adequate ear and hearing care services.
Hundreds of people have protested outside Parliament in Namibia's capital, where an agreement with Germany, in which Germany acknowledged it committed genocide during its colonial occupation, is due to be debated. The crowd, consisting of mainly opposition activists, marched to the Parliament building in Windhoek to protest against the agreement penned earlier this year between their government and Germany. Back in May, Germany acknowledged it had committed genocide in the colonial-era Namibia against Herero and Nama people between 1904 and 1908 and promised €1 billion in financial support to descendants of the victims. However, activists have rejected the offer as insufficient. Still ahead on the program. A guild of artists from Nigeria's Benin City offered to donate artworks to the British Museum in London to encourage a return the Benin bronze that were looted. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Egypt says it remains committed to reaching a comprehensive, balanced and legally binding agreement on the filling and operation of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi made this known during his virtual address to the UN General Assembly. He says his country aims to ensure the survival of 150 million people in Egypt and Sudan and to avoid causing any damage to the peoples of both countries.
Egypt remains committed to reaching as soon as possible a comprehensive, balanced, and legally binding agreement on the filling and operation of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. This aims at ensuring the survival of 150 million people in Egypt and Sudan and to avoid causing irreparable damage to the peoples of both countries. This is based not only on the values of fairness and rationality, but also on firm international legal grounds, which enshrine the principle of the just and fair use of joint water resources in international river basins. The multiplicity of challenges our world faces today necessitates us to stop and reflect on the best way to mobilize the resources needed to overcome these challenges, and this is a priority for the benefit of all of humanity. This is Egypt's clarion call to all humanity. Let us stand together to save ourselves before it is too late. Let us arm ourselves not with the logic of force, but with the force of logic.
معتمدين في تحقيق هدفنا على قوة المنطق لا على منطق القوة.
Nigeria and Denmark have renewed their partnership to fight piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. The renewed effort was made between the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, and the Danish Foreign Minister, Jeppe Kofod, on the sidelines of the 76th UN General Assembly holding in New York. Mr. Kofod said Denmark is strengthening its cooperation with countries around the Gulf of Guinea and deploying resources for the cause, adding that as a maritime country, Denmark is occupied with safe travel for its seafarers and its ships. Mr. Oyema, on his part, says Nigeria's good relations with Denmark was a win-win and that the expansion of areas of interest to both would be beneficial not just in maritime security, but also in agriculture production. Well, the British government is supporting initiatives in West and East Africa through Manufacturing Africa, a program that seeks to promote industrialization in the two regions by attracting £1 billion in foreign direct investment and create 90,000 jobs by 2026. British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Catriona Liang, and her deputy in Lagos visits one of the beneficiaries in the state, which is driving a vision to solve mobility challenges in the country.
The vehicles we drive, just like the engine of the country's economy, run on fossil fuel. But burning them creates climate change and releases pollutants that lead to early death, heart attacks, and respiratory illnesses. Transport, traditionally perceived as a laggard when it comes to environmental matters, is currently one of the biggest sources of carbon emissions in Nigeria. Greening the industry is a major headache to players in the sector.
At the rate at which combustion engine vehicles are growing in Africa, if we don't do something about it right now, in another 9 years, our emissions across Africa would grow to somewhere between 2.3 and 2.4 billion gigatons of CO2 every single year. And that is bad for the environment, right? They're looking for more efficiency.
The folks at Max Africa then decided to form partnerships that will help boost efforts to reduce emissions in the industry. And now, the founders are happy to show off their success to both the British High Commissioner and the Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, revealing the third generation of the electric motorcycle.
Which not only helps us tackle the most urgent problem that we're all dealing with on climate change, but also enables people to live their lives more effectively. So young commercial drivers have been provided now with an end-to-end solution, a cheaper way to run their business, but also access to health insurance, to services to enable them to keep the vehicles on the road maintained and so on.
For a company that started as a university project, the founders are mindful of the challenges of confronting scaling and innovation like theirs in an economy where most citizens not only have constraining purchasing power, but also lack constant power supply depending on polluting fossil fuels.
Building the infrastructure to formalize the end-to-end process by which drivers are onboarded onto our platform, are assessed, are provided a high-quality vehicle and are given the tools, including technology, for them to operate efficiently and for them to be able to earn an income and therefore utilize that income to make repayments.
As of now, there are limited charging points across the country for the riders, but the company says it is partnering mini-grid operators and renewable energy investors in the country to solve the problem. The pathway to successful e-mobility in Nigeria is pockmarked with many potholes, just like many roads in the country. Experts say with the right policies, political will and sustainable partnerships, the obstacles will be reduced to the barest minimum. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
A new guild of artists from Nigeria's Benin City is offering to donate artworks to the British Museum in London as a way to encourage it to return the Benin bronzes that were looted from the city's royal court by British troops in 1897.
The Ahiawe Guild of Artists and Bronze Casters says it wants to change the terms of debate by giving the British Museum contemporary artworks untainted by any history of looting that showcase Benin City's modern-day culture. Sarobo Zaikna Okoro is a founding member of the new guild and the main instigator of the proposed donation.
We're actually offering this plaque to the British Museum as a way of re-establishing, changing the narrative between museums and a lot of the cultures that have been hurt and by the stolen artifacts. Is a way of being able to show that we can actually give you new artifacts. We can give you artifacts, an artifact that doesn't have the taints and the word of loot and theft associated with it.
The artworks on offer include a 2x2 meter bronze plaque with carvings representing historical event in Benin and a life-size ram made entirely from spark plugs. London has resisted campaigns for the full return of Nigeria's bronzes, which bronze caster Uwa Ata says would improve local business.
This same work now, it was originated from this place. So when they bring it back now, that pride, it has come to us again. So we'll be very, very happy. So it will even boost this our work up.
While Germany has said that it wanted to return Benin bronzes from its museums to Nigeria, the British Museum, which houses the largest and most significant collection of the items, has stopped short of making a clear commitment. And for many people in Benin City, it is unsatisfactory.
They've reduced us from where we was before. They must bring it back. It's not their father's property. The property belongs to the Oba of Benin.
Zigno Okoro traveled from Benin City this month to London, where he partly grew up, to advance his initiative. He said he had a meeting coming up with curators from the museum's Africa department.
The descendants of the people who casted those bronzes, they don't actually get, they've never seen that work, because most of them can't fly and afford to fly into London to come to the British Museum, and they have these catalogues, which are these books, like PDF copies of the catalogue from the British Museum, which they use to, to reference the work of their ancestors. And I think it's so sad.
Created in the once mighty kingdom of Benin from at least 16th century onwards, the bronze and brass sculptures are among Africa's finest and most culturally significant artifacts. European museums that have housed them have faced years of criticism because of their status as loot and symbols of colonial greed.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.